One of these two drones is the new Mini 5 Pro from DJI. It's this one because it's got a darker grey compared to the lighter grey, the old one. So now matches the Air 3, Air 3S and Mavic 4 Pro. But there is more to it than just a darker shade of grey, thankfully.
The Mini 3 Pro from the Mini 2 for me was the most significant jump, with its larger sensor, the addition of forward and backward obstacle avoidance sensors, and especially the ability to adjust sharpness and noise reduction in the app, which transformed the image. Suddenly, I had a mini drone that I could easily cut in with my large sensor cameras. The 4 Pro, yes, I'm going to drop the Mini name for now, added side sensors, video up to 4K 60p in HLG and D-Log-M, and the superior 04 transmission system. The 5 Pro, as you'd expect, has several improvements, including the even better 04 Plus transmission. Some are incremental and some are substantial.
The headline feature of the Mini 5 Pro is the new 1-inch sensor up from 1/1.3 inch. It's probably the same sensor as the Air 3S. The Sony sensor, a quad Bayer sensor, although I have no confirmation of that, but it probably is.
What this size increase means is that the 5 Pro has 1.6 times larger surface area than the 4 Pro. A larger sensor with larger pixels should translate to better dynamic range and a cleaner image.
So this is 1/8000th of a second D-Log-M, ISO 100. And you know, it looks fine, it's holding most things. It's got the sun in shots, it's going to be very bright. But look what happens when I go into auto ISO. See how much you can see in the shadows now. It's much better. And it's back to 100 ISO and back to auto. This is how you get the best dynamic range. You've got to be in auto ISO. It's combining high and low ISOs, I believe, to get this. It's something that was first seen on the Mavic 4 Pro. Well, I didn't realise it at the time. But there, you know, it looks better, doesn't it?
In my Catty, I did some more control tests, comparing the dynamic range of the 5 Pro to the 4 Pro, using manual exposure and also that auto ISO feature. And the results were surprising. DJI claims up to 14 stops in dynamic range, but I also said that for the 4 Pro, and this one's better. In D-Log-M, the 5 Pro was definitely holding the highlights better than the 4 Pro, as well as more detail in the shadows. It can be a little bit hard to tell, but if you look at the sky, you can see it, and if we look at the waveform, this is where you can see that the 4 Pro's highlights are clipped, whereas the 5 Pro is holding onto them. Impressive. This clever auto ISO ability only works in the 1x mode. I'll explain what that means in a bit. But it does work in HLG and in the normal color profile, where the difference was really obvious. I also did a quick test using the Air 3S's main camera, which is technically the same camera as the 5 Pro, to see if it had the same auto ISO behavior, and yeah, it definitely helped. But the Mini 5 Pro seemed to do better, both in the shadows and the highlights. So it seems that auto ISO is a necessary evil if you want to get the best dynamic range, which isn't ideal, as it's still auto exposure, which is something I try to avoid. In manual ISO, the Mini 5 Pro still only has 1 stop increments, 100, 200, 400, etc. Unlike the Mavic 4 Pro, which finally gave us 1/3 stop increments. And this is really needed, especially on fixed aperture cameras like this, where you have limited control over your exposure. The only way you can use the in-between ISOs is, auto ISO. DJI, can we please have a firmware update for this? For all of your drones, ideally. What's new for the Mini line is that the normal profile is now 10-bit. This is good news, but I still wouldn't use it, as it's too contrasty and overly sharpened, despite setting my sharpness and noise reduction to the minimum for all my profiles. The 5 Pro has inherited the front-facing LiDAR sensor of the Air 3S and Mavic 4 Pro, and this really improves the obstacle avoidance, not just in darkness, but in normal light for things the normal sensors don't pick up. I only ever use active track when reviewing these drones, but I was surprised at how well it did following me here, especially as I started going through the woods. The tracking mode I use the most is spotlight mode. It keeps the subject, me here,
Good old spotlight.
in the position I chose. Then I can just move the joysticks to fly around.
Good old spotlight. Never let me down.
One problem that I found when using Spotlight was that the drone wouldn't move when it was set to the Cine mode. For it to work, I had to switch to normal mode. So I had to go into the settings and change my gain and expo for normal to my Cine mode's 1 meter a second, so I could get that super slow speed whilst tracking. I really hope that this is a bug, as it makes no sense whatsoever, and I've not seen it on any of their other drones.
One of my favourite things about this drone is the ability to use the quad bay sensor to give us a tighter field of view and maintain our resolution. So we have an 8K quad bay sensor in here. Normally the quad pixels are combined to give us that normal 4K. But instead of combining them, the sensor is sampled 1:1 to give us 4K, which is this here. Let me just reframe that slightly. So it is going to be slightly noisier, because you aren't using those combined pixels, so keep the ISO nice and low, and the dynamic range isn't going to be as good. So make sure you don't shoot anything too challenging, nothing that's really brightly backlit with a really dark subject.
In this shot, I noticed some slightly odd digital artifacts. They're in both the 1x and 2x, but because I'm punched in here, they are more visible. I didn't notice them on any other shots though, but it could be due to compression, as this is a very challenging shot. It's so handy having the 2x to get you not just a tighter shot quickly, also to get a perspective that you wouldn't get by just flying closer. The quality is a step down from the 1x, but it's much better than a digital zoom like the Mini 4 Pro has, or doing it in post. There's also a 3x zoom which digitally crops in a bit more. It's okay, but you may as well just do that in the edit. Another nice improvement is that the onboard storage has increased from a frankly useless 2GB to 42GB. However, I still just use this if I have to. I record to micro SD cards for 2 key reasons, and the cards I've been using for the last few months are from Lexar, who have very kindly sponsored this video. 42GB is great to have, but it's nowhere near enough space to use on its own. If you're only using internal storage, once it's full, that's the end of your flying unless you transfer the footage to your phone. One of the key bits of drone advice I've been saying for years is to switch out your card every time you swap batteries. You know, just in case the worst happens the next time you take her up. The Silver Plus line is fully approved by DJI for their drones, featuring fast read speeds of up to 205 megabytes per second and read speeds of up to 150 megabytes per second. This is more than fast enough for our maximum H.265 bit rates here. What's very important, especially with these tiny micro SD cards, is their durability. Lexar state 8 different proofs. I haven't tested these claims, and it's unlikely I will ever be in a situation to confirm them, but I trust Lexar. They come in 64, 128, 256 and 512 gigabytes, as well as 1 terabyte. For my drones, I actually generally use 128 gigabytes, which is more than enough for 1 battery. Thank you very much, Lexar, for sponsoring this video.
Whether you like it or not, I don't really like it, vertical video is here to stay. Thankfully, you can rotate the gimbal like in the previous one, just by stopping recording, rotating, and then hitting record again. So there you go, vertical. Composition's not nice, is it? I mean, it's alright, I get a bit closer, but I definitely prefer the landscape one. Isn't that much nicer? Because if you crop this image, then you're only going to have a vertical resolution of 1920, which is not really enough. Well, it's enough for social media, but not enough if you need to deliver a high quality 4K file. You can deliver a high quality 4K file if you rotate the gimbal, you know, like this. So there you go, client. Here is your lovely 4K shot of me standing in a field with the sun behind me, nice and backlit. I look better when you can't see me that clearly. But there's something new with the gimbal that we didn't have in the Mini 4 Pro, and it's taking this idea from the Mavic 4 Pro. Yes, the gimbal can rotate 225 degrees for shots like this, which I'm sure you use occasionally. I mean, it's kind of cool. And the great thing is now I'm in Australia. Yeah, it's a dad joke. Being able to rotate the gimbal 90 degrees so we can maintain 4K resolution for vertical video is great. In fact, it goes a little bit further. It's cool. But what I'd much rather have is something which the Osmo 360 has, and that is a square sensor. Let me explain. So this shot here, let's just imagine that it was shot with the square sensor from the Osmo 360, 3840 by 3840. So now if I want to go vertical, I simply crop it. I want to go horizontal, then we crop it for that. We can also have a 4:3 crop, a 2.35 to 1 crop, a 5 to 1 crop, whatever you want. The key thing is what's maintained across all of these is our longest edge is 3840 4K. That's what I'd love to see in here. And we've seen square sensors in other cameras. Insta360 had it in the Go, in the Go 2, the Go 3, but they dropped it for 4:3 sensor in the Go 3S and the Go Ultra. But Apple have brought the square sensor to the mainstream with their front-facing camera. It's square, and that's the way we should have all our camera sensors.
The 4 and 5 Pro are both labelled as 24mm equivalent lenses, but the 4 Pro actually has a 2-degree wider field of view, although it makes very little difference. You may think that the f1.7 aperture of the 4 Pro is bigger than the 1.8 of the 5 Pro, but it's not, as they are relative to their sensor sizes. The minimum focus is now 50cm compared to the 1 meter of the 4 Pro. Great for getting some nice bokeh. Slow motion is now 4K 120 frames per second, and in 1080p it's 240 frames per second, and this is up from 100 and 200. Both are recorded as 30p though. Battery life has been improved, not massively, but it's a bit better. The battery is now high capacity, but also around 10 grams lighter. I was getting about an average of 23-24 minutes. You can use the batteries from the 3 and 4 Pro on the 5 Pro, but not the other way around. But just like if you get the 5 Pro's new Battery Plus ones, which are only available outside the UK and the EU, these will push the weight of your drone way over the 249.9 gram Class 0 threshold. The weight of the 5 Pro is an interesting one. The first one I received was 252 grams. I was told this was because it was a pre-production one, so they sent me another one, which was dead on 250 grams. But I'm seeing a lot of people who have bought them getting 252 grams. This could be an issue depending on where you live, although it is still classified as C0 in the EU. On DJI's website it says the weight could vary plus or minus 4 grams, and this is something I've never seen them say before. I doubt my scales are 100% accurate, and I could have done with having a couple of decimal places too, but at least they can be used as a base to compare. I weighed them without battery in, and there was a difference. But there was also a difference with a couple of my batteries. I did buy a couple of extras, but I don't know which ones they are. Out of curiosity, I weighed my 4 Pro, and initially it gave me 252 grams. But then I tried a different battery, and it seemed to be just that one that was heavier than the others. And they're all standard batteries. How much this weight discrepancy matters remains to be seen, and it'll be very interesting to see if we start seeing 5 Pros come in all under 250 grams in the next couple of months. I'd be surprised if DJI didn't take steps to ensure that all future ones weigh under that magic weight. It was great to get a second 5 Pro for an altogether different reason. This is my beautiful boy Jimmy, spraying over my original 5 Pro, my RC Pro 2 and my Mini 4 Pro. Thankfully they are all fine, although the 5 Pro does smell of cat wee when it heats up. I should have realised he would do this as he is sponsored by Anti-Gravity. With the weight of mine so close to 250 grams, as soon as I put on an ND filter, it goes over, as the filter weighs about a gram. It's plastic, and DJI have gone back to the very fiddly way of having to clip it over the lens. Perhaps this too is because of weight. Back in the Casio, I tested out the low light performance of the cameras in the 4 and 5 Pro, and as expected, the larger sensor of the 5 Pro made it look better. We can also go a stop higher in ISO across all the profiles. So that's in D-Log M and HLG, we now have a maximum of 3200 ISO. and in normal, it's 12,800. I recommend sticking to D-Log-M for low light filming, and do your noise reduction in post using Neat Video if you can. There's also a link for that in the description. Normal is too contrasty for night filming, and it's so over sharpened. Avoid using in-camera noise reduction, as it looks terrible when you push the ISO up. I keep my sharpness and noise reduction settings to -2, -2, always. The larger sensor of the 5 Pro means your photos will also have better dynamic range and noise performance, especially when using the quad Bayer pixel combined 12 megapixel mode. If you use the full 50 megapixels, then there's definitely more detail, but at the expense of noise and dynamic range.
So I'm using the RC Pro 2 here. It's a lovely controller, it's really fast, zippy, big screen that can rotate, very bright. I just love it so much, but you can't get it as a package with the Mini 5 Pro, unfortunately. It's the standard controller, the one you use your phone, or the DJI RC2. Yeah. One of the things I like the most about the RC Pro 2, God, these names get me confused, is it records a scratch track of your audio, and when you stop recording, it then transfers it to the camera and adds it to the file, which is great when you're doing these walk and talks, trying to get things synced up.
The Mini 4 Pro has been my favourite drone since it came out, thanks to that really lovely image and being sub 250 grams. But the Air 3S is a close second. The Mini 5 Pro now having the same camera as the Air 3S is a big plus, but you can't ignore the huge benefit of having a 70mm second camera, as it opens up your drone to a whole new perspective. Yes, the 2x mode in the Mini 5 Pro is great, but it can't compare to the quality of an optical zoom.
So should you buy this drone? Well, I can't answer that for you. I mean, you can do that. I've made this video to give you my opinions and explain what's new. And you know, if you've already got a Mini 4 Pro, you've already got a fantastic drone. But just look at the things which are new and figure out whether the new things are important. I mean, it is clearly the best mini drone that DJI make, as it should be. It's also an absolutely amazing drone. To have everything in here under 250 grams is incredible. And it just made it though, so I really don't know what else they can add. But yeah, it's impressive.